Its arrival at Rosarius's unit marked a turning point, not just for the test pilots, but for the entire German leadership that would eventually receive their damning reports. The Mustang represented a leap in aviation engineering, a potent combination of speed, range, and firepower that few Allied aircraft could match, let alone German designs. The P-51 was, in essence, the aerial embodiment of the relentless American war machine, and its secrets were about to be laid bare. The specific Mustang that would etch itself into Luftwaffe lore was a P-51B model bearing the tail code T9+HK. Its capture was not a grand tactical victory, but rather a stroke of operational fortune. On June 13, 1944, this particular Mustang, part of the 357th Fighter Group, 363rd Fighter Squadron, was on a mission over the German heartland. Its pilot, an American by the name of Lieutenant Sherman A. Best, encountered engine trouble after a sustained combat engagement. Whether it was battle damage, a mechanical malfunction, or a combination of both, the Merlin engine began to falter. Unable to maintain altitude, Best was forced to make an emergency landing. His designated landing spot was a farmer's field near the town of Euskirchen, not far from Cologne. Miraculously, Lieutenant Best survived the forced landing, though he was quickly captured by German ground forces. The aircraft, however, remained largely intact, an astonishing prize for the Germans. Most forced landings of Allied fighters resulted in catastrophic damage, rendering the aircraft useless for evaluation. But T9+HK, though scuffed and battered, was salvageable. Its capture was reported up the chain of command, and word soon reached Hauptmann Rosarius. An extraction team was immediately dispatched, their mission to recover the precious aircraft before Allied reconnaissance could pinpoint its location and perhaps dispatch a mission to destroy it. The recovery operation itself was a logistical challenge. Moving a relatively intact fighter aircraft from a muddy field to a secure airbase required specialized equipment and considerable effort. Local villagers, often coerced, would have been involved, adding a surreal layer to the unfolding drama. Imagine the scene: a sleek, silver American fighter plane, alien in its design, being carefully dismantled or towed through the pastoral German countryside, past curious and sometimes bewildered civilians. It was a tangible symbol of the conflict, now firmly in enemy hands. Once recovered, T9+HK was transported under heavy guard to one of Rosarius's secret airfields, most likely Rechlin, the Luftwaffe's primary test center. Here it was met with a mixture of excitement, curiosity, and a certain grim determination. German ground crews, accustomed to the intricate engineering of their own Messerschmitts and Focke-Wulfs, began a meticulous examination of the Mustang. Every panel was opened, every system inspected, every component photographed and documented. This was forensic aviation on a grand scale. The laminated flow wings, the sophisticated supercharger of the Merlin engine, the robust armament package, everything was scrutinized. The initial technical assessment would have confirmed much of what German intelligence had already suspected, but it also revealed unexpected details. The internal layout, the robust construction, the advanced radio equipment, these were all pieces of a puzzle that the German engineers were eager to solve. The build quality, even under wartime pressures, was remarkable. The sheer effort that had gone into producing such a refined machine was evident. For the German ground crews, this was not just another captured plane. It was an object lesson in industrial might, a silent testament to the vast resources available to the enemy. With the initial ground inspections complete, the moment arrived for the true test, the flight evaluation. This was the domain of Rosarius's elite pilots, men like Hauptmann Wilhelm Schmitter, Oberleutnant Heinz Wiecke, and other experienced test pilots, many of whom had already flown various captured Allied aircraft. They were chosen not just for their flying skill, but for their objective analytical minds. They were to fly T9+HK not as an enemy, but as a machine, to strip away the politics and the propaganda and evaluate its raw performance. The first pilot to sit in the cockpit of T9+HK after its repairs and reassembly must have experienced a profound mix of emotions. A sense of unease, perhaps, at being surrounded by American dials and gauges, symbols of the enemy. A surge of anticipation to finally experience what their adversaries flew, and a grim realization of the stakes involved. This was not a training flight. This was an intelligence mission with potentially strategic implications. Imagine the pilot, let's call him Oberstleutnant Erich Schmidt, a composite of these brave men, strapping himself into the P-51B. The cockpit feels different, more spacious than a Bf-109, perhaps less cramped than an FW-190. The canopy offers superb visibility, a stark contrast to the often restrictive view from German fighters. He familiarizes himself with the controls, the foreign nomenclature, the placement of switches and levers. The roar of the Packard Merlin engine, a sound so familiar to Allied airmen, now fills the air of a German airfield. It's a powerful, smooth sound, unlike the more raucous Daimler-Benz of the Bf-109 or the growl of the BMW 801 of the FW-190. The first takeoff would have been a revelation. The Mustang accelerated with astonishing power. its Merlin engine pulling it airborne with a confidence that surprised even seasoned German pilots. Once aloft, the true evaluation began. Schmidt, or any of his colleagues, would have systematically put the aircraft through its paces: climbs, dives, turns, rolls, stalls. Every maneuver was meticulously documented, every handling characteristic noted. The goal was to establish a comprehensive flight envelope, comparing it directly to their own aircraft. The initial reports were, as the source description suggests, staggering. The Mustang's performance was not just good, it was exceptional, often superior to Germany's best in critical aspects. Let's delve into the direct comparisons, starting with the iconic Messerschmitt Bf-109. For years, the Bf-109 had been the backbone of the Luftwaffe fighter arm. It was a small, agile, and powerful interceptor, renowned for its excellent climb rate and dogfighting prowess, especially in the hands of an experienced pilot. But by 1944, the Bf-109, though continually upgraded, was beginning to show its age. When a German pilot, having spent thousands of hours in a Bf-109, climbed into the P-51B, the differences would have been immediately apparent. Speed. The Mustang's top speed, especially at higher altitudes where the Merlin engine truly excelled, was comparable to, and often slightly better than, the latest Bf-109 models like the G6 or G10. This was crucial. The Bf-109 could no longer count on simply outrunning Allied fighters. Climb rate. The Bf-109 had historically been a superb climber. The Mustang, especially the Merlin-powered versions, matched it, and at certain altitudes could even surpass it. This negated one of the Bf-109's key tactical advantages: maneuverability. This was a more nuanced comparison. The Bf-109, with its smaller wing and lighter structure, could be incredibly nimble in a tight turn fight at lower speeds. However, at higher speeds, the Bf-109's controls became heavy, and it could suffer from compressibility effects. The Mustang, with its laminar flow wing and powerful ailerons, maintained excellent control authority even at very high speeds, making it a stable and predictable gun platform. Its turning radius was wider than the Bf-109's at low speeds, but its ability to sustain turns at high speeds was superior. More importantly, the Mustang's roll rate was exceptional, allowing for rapid changes in direction that could disorient a Bf-109 pilot. Range. This was where the Mustang truly excelled, and where the Bf-109 simply couldn't compete. With its internal fuel tanks and external drop tanks, the P-51 could escort bombers deep into German territory, a feat utterly impossible for the short-legged Bf-109. This factor alone shifted the strategic balance of the air war. The Wanderzirkus Rosarius pilots understood that while their Bf-109s could meet a Mustang in a dogfight over German skies, they could never prevent the bombers from reaching their targets in the first place because they simply couldn't get there. Next, consider the Focke-Wulf FW-190. This was a different beast altogether. The FW-190, particularly the A series, was a rugged, heavily armed brute of a fighter designed for speed, dive capability, and immense firepower. It excelled as a low to medium altitude interceptor and ground attack aircraft. Its radial engine made it incredibly robust and able to absorb significant damage. When the Mustang was pitted against the FW-190, either in simulated combat or through comparative flight tests, new facets emerged. Speed. At lower altitudes, the FW-190A8 could match or even slightly exceed the Mustang's speed. However, as altitude increased, the Mustang's Merlin engine allowed it to pull away from the radial-engined FW-190, which tended to lose power at higher altitudes. The FW-190D9 Dora, with its inline Jumo 213 engine, sought to address this high-altitude deficiency, but it arrived too late and in too few numbers to turn the tide. Climb rate. Again, the Mustang was often superior, especially at altitude. The FW-190's initial climb was good, but the P-51's sustained climb was more impressive. Maneuverability. The FW-190 had a phenomenal roll rate, even better than the Mustangs in some aspects. In a rolling scissors maneuver, the FW-190 could be a deadly opponent. However, its turning circle was generally wider than the Mustang's. The FW-190 was a boom and zoom fighter, relying on hit-and-run tactics, utilizing its speed and dive performance. The Mustang could engage in prolonged turning fights more effectively, especially at altitude. Armament. The FW-190 typically carried a heavier cannon armament, e.g., two 20mm cannons in the wing roots, two more in the outer wing, plus two 13mm machine guns over the engine, giving it devastating hitting power. The P-51B, with its 4.50 caliber machine guns, offered a high rate of fire and excellent projectile velocity, but less explosive power per round than the cannons. This was a trade-off: sustained fire versus destructive impact. German pilots respected the .50 caliber's ability to tear apart aircraft, but often preferred the heavier punch of their own cannons. Beyond raw performance, the German pilots were struck by several other key aspects of American engineering, especially apparent in the Mustang. Reliability and maintainability. The Packard Merlin engine, though British in origin, was produced in vast quantities in the US and proved incredibly reliable. Its engineering allowed for relatively straightforward maintenance. Compared to the temperamental nature of some German high-performance engines, this was a significant advantage. The Mustang was built to withstand the rigors of sustained combat operations day after day, week after week. Ergonomics and pilot comfort. The spacious cockpit, excellent visibility, and well-laid-out controls of the P-51 were frequently lauded. In a long-range escort mission, pilot fatigue was a major factor. A comfortable pilot was a more effective pilot. German fighters, by contrast, were often designed for maximum performance in a compact airframe, sometimes at the expense of pilot comfort. Technological integration. The Mustang featured advanced radio equipment, effective navigation aids, and later, even rudimentary radar warning receivers. The integration of these systems made the P-51 a highly capable combat platform, giving its pilots a significant tactical advantage in situational awareness. The German pilots of Wanderzirkus Rosarius did not merely test these aircraft in isolation. They flew them in mock combat against Germany's own top fighters. A P-51B, sporting German markings, would tangle with a Bf-109G or an FW-190A, providing invaluable insights into real-world combat scenarios. These simulated dogfights were not just about performance figures. They were about understanding the enemy's tactics, about recognizing the subtle cues that distinguished a Mustang's approach from a Messerschmitt's. One of the most profound observations made by the German test pilots was the Mustang's ability to maintain high performance across a wide range of altitudes, but particularly its dominance at higher altitudes. This was directly attributable to the two-stage, two-speed supercharger of the Merlin engine. While German engines like the DB605 also had superchargers, the Merlin's design, initially a Rolls-Royce innovation, was exceptionally efficient, allowing the Mustang to perform optimally at the very altitudes where American bombers operated. This meant that the P-51 was not just an interceptor. It was a high-altitude escort fighter par excellence, capable of protecting its charges all the way to the target and back. This revelation, more than any other, fundamentally altered the Luftwaffe's perspective. It exposed the uncomfortable truth of technological dominance that the source material mentions. It wasn't just that the P-51 was a good plane, it was that it was a plane designed and produced with a strategic vision, a vision that Germany was struggling to match. The sheer scale of American industrial output, combined with innovative engineering, was overwhelming. The Luftwaffe could produce excellent individual aircraft, but they often struggled with the mass production of truly game-changing designs and the seamless integration of new technologies. The Mustang was a shining example of Allied industrial and engineering synergy. The emotional impact on the German pilots cannot be overstated. Imagine a veteran German ace, a man who had fearlessly faced Spitfires and P-47 Thunderbolts, now sitting in the cockpit of a P-51. He fires up the engine, feels the smooth power, takes off, and puts it through its paces. He dives, climbs, rolls. He compares its characteristics to the machines he has fought his entire career. And what he feels is not just respect, but perhaps a growing sense of dread. Oberleutnant Schmitter, a veteran test pilot for Rosarius, might have recounted his experience. When I first climbed into the Mustang, it felt alien. The cockpit was spacious, almost luxurious compared to our BF-109s. But the moment the Merlin roared to life, a deep, powerful sound, I knew this was no ordinary machine. In the air, it was simply breathtaking. The speed, the responsiveness, the way it held its energy in a turn. It was a true pilot's aircraft. I understood then why our boys were struggling so much. This was a superior machine, a step ahead. Another, a younger pilot, perhaps still full of patriotic fervor, might have felt a crushing weight. We were told our Messerschmitts were the best. We believed it. But after flying the Mustang, you saw the truth. It wasn't just faster, it flew higher, it could stay with the bombers all the way. It was an unwelcome awakening. It made you question everything you thought you knew about the war in the air. These aren't documented quotes, but they reflect the likely psychological impact of flying such a formidable adversary. The soldiers' emotions hinted at in the original prompt are profoundly relevant here. Admiration, respect, but also fear, and a recognition of insurmountable odds. The findings from Wanderzirkus Rosarius, and particularly from the Mustang evaluations, were disseminated to the highest levels of the Luftwaffe. They influenced tactical recommendations, encouraging German pilots to try and engage Mustangs at lower altitudes where their own aircraft might have a marginal advantage, or to use ambush tactics rather than engaging in prolonged turning dogfights. They also informed German aircraft designers, pushing them to improve high-altitude performance, range, and pilot visibility in future designs, though by then it was largely too late. The data gathered from captured Mustangs, combined with other Allied aircraft like the P-47 Thunderbolt and even captured B-17 Flying Fortresses, provided a comprehensive intelligence picture. The Germans learned about Allied armor plating, fuel tank self-sealing technology, radio communication systems, and even manufacturing techniques. This was vital information, yet it also served to highlight the widening technological gap. While the Germans could reverse engineer some components or adopt certain design principles, they could not replicate the sheer industrial output of the Allied nations. The Wanderzirkus Rosarius continued its crucial, albeit often morbid, work throughout the war. They evaluated numerous Allied aircraft, each providing another piece of the strategic puzzle. From American A-20 Havoc light bombers to British Spitfires, and even a few Soviet Yak-9s captured on the Eastern Front, their hangars were a testament to the global nature of the conflict and the constant struggle for aerial supremacy. Each evaluation, however, seemed to reinforce the growing strength of the Allied air forces. The story of the captured P-51B T9+HK is a microcosm of the larger war effort. It symbolizes the relentless pursuit of information, the desperate struggle to maintain an edge, and the ultimate realization of an undeniable truth. The American P-51 Mustang, a machine born of innovation and mass production, had indeed proven its shocking superiority. It wasn't merely a fighter, it was an enabler of strategic bombing campaigns, a guardian of the skies that pushed the boundaries of what was thought possible in aerial combat. The legacy of Wanderzirkus Rosarius and the lessons learned from their captured Mustangs reverberated through the final years of the war. German pilots, though outnumbered and outmatched, continued to fight with incredible bravery and skill. But they now faced an enemy they understood intimately, an enemy whose capabilities they had tested and quantified. They knew the Mustang's strengths, and they knew its weaknesses, but above all, they knew its devastating potential. The final act of the war saw the introduction of Germany's own technological marvels, the jet-powered Me-262 and the rocket-powered Me-163. These aircraft, born of desperation and brilliant engineering, represented a final valiant attempt to regain air superiority. Had they arrived earlier and in greater numbers, the outcome might have been different. But by the time they appeared on the scene, the technological dominance of the Allies, epitomized by aircraft like the P-51 Mustang, was firmly established. The Allied air forces had achieved an overwhelming advantage, a testament to their industrial capacity, strategic foresight, and the relentless pursuit of excellence in aircraft design. The story of German pilots flying captured Mustang aircraft during World War II is more than just a footnote in history. It's a powerful illustration of the hidden facets of warfare, where intelligence gathering can be as crucial as direct combat. It's a tale of human adaptability, of pushing the boundaries of knowledge, and of confronting uncomfortable truths in the face of overwhelming adversity. For fans of WWII aviation documentaries, this truly is a story you can't miss. It reminds us that even in the darkest hours of conflict, the spirit of inquiry and the relentless pursuit of technological advantage can shape the destiny of nations. And the roar of a captured Mustang, flown by an enemy pilot, served as a chilling harbinger of the inevitable end.